Yeah.
So with Game Informer, I forgot to type in the information, so I'm going to have it here on my phone. I did not know that they debuted in 1991.
Yeah, dude, I got my first Game Informer when I was 5.
I did not know that they were that old. Because I didn't
What
start...
the hell you mean that old?
Like... I mean...
Wait, weren't you born before 91 too, you son of a bitch?
Yeah, one single year.
That's still older, like...
So... it was through the video game retailer FuncoLand, which I don't know FuncoLand. Like, we didn't have FuncoLands near us, did we?
No. They're the one. Is that the same company that did Funko Pops?
No. No.
Are you sure?
I don't think so.
It might be a subsidiary or something.
I don't think so.
I know who can find out.
So they started publishing an in-house newsletter, and then it got acquired by GameStop, which bought FuncoLand in 2000. Due to this, a large amount of promotion was done in-store, which contributed to the success of the magazine. Because I remember every time I would go to GameStop, it would be like, "Do you want to sign up for Game Informer for blah 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 a month?" I'm like, "No," but then I finally did, because then it eventually came with the GameStop subscription. You got free Game Informer if you became like a premium or a pro member
it was
at GameStop.
Part of their membership program with the discount.
To which I then would get them, and I looked forward to getting them because that was how I found out about, games and news and what was coming and the first looks and everything and all that. Like, I miss those times where it was like, that's how you found out about stuff. Not just like a game gets announced, you watch a trailer, and then everybody's saying about how dog shit it is immediately without anything else.
Dude, I guarantee you, I have a Game Informer. I promise you it's in my storage. I know for a fact it's probably there. From 1995.
Really?
Yeah. I can almost promise you it's sitting there. I don't know which bin it's in, but I know for a fact it's not gone yet.
That would be sweet to look through. I would really enjoy that.
You can look through it if you want. You got to wear gloves. I mean, at this point, that's like an ancient artifact. So.
We're going to put it in our museum. Got a little tickle in my throat. So, I guess they came out with like 10 of them per year. And the final issue is going to be July 2024. And it's issue 368 will be the final issue number. So
you guys have to do an August issue just so you can end on 369. Come on, how lit would that be? Or
at least like make it an even it is an even number, but like round it out to like 370 or like 400.
Or take it to Christmas. I mean, like, I don't know. Yeah, at least make it special. Don't just be like, well, we made it to July 24.
Yeah, so like when I stopped going to GameStop, because like it just kind of became a joke for quite a little while, as they like rolled in all like the nonsense knickknacks and T-shirts and toys that are just like the worst products, and like their gaming section went down. Like it just it was just terrible. And then the pro membership stuff, I think they changed it a couple of times, and it became just not desirable. And there was a stretch where like I just didn't want to go into a GameStop because I just knew it was going to be just trash. So, I think when it went digital is kind of like, no, who wants to read a digital magazine? I can just look on news sites at that point.
So that's a format thing. That's really, honestly, like whoever's managing that product over at IGN or whoever owns it, that's the point where you say to yourself, okay, I have this publication. Who are my core audience? What do my core audience like? What do they use most frequently?
Mm-hmm.
If you decide to put your frickin' publication into a PDF viewer where it's actually paginated, you're a frickin' moron. For gamers. For gamers.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, like just something about like even reading like a manual on the like even like reading it on the internet if I'm looking something up or something, it hurts. It just hurts. Like I want to have like the thing in front of me and I want to page through and look, because if I'm scrolling, I can just scroll down as far as I want to go and see what I need to see and then just yeah, I'm done. And with things like YouTube, like I don't need to look up anything in a Game Informer because I can just go on YouTube and someone's going to be talking about it.
Well, yeah, but you're not going to be able to read that. That's the thing with the publications is that person was hired to write that.
Yeah.
They're getting compensated. That's literally their job. So they have meaningful stake in it. Like they have motivation to actually give a shit about what they're saying.
Yeah.
And make sure that it's right. Versus anybody that goes on YouTube is like, you know, you could argue monetization of YouTube. Okay, that's kind of like a commission. You know, they're not already. When you're hired to write something, you're guaranteed a check, and you know that your ass is grass if you don't do well. On YouTube, it's like, you know, what's the worst that happens if you fail? You don't make any money. You didn't have it to begin with.
Yeah, that's very true. So here's a question too. Like with GameStop, buying or acquiring the whole Game Informer thing in like 2000, if they were switching to digital, like think about what Game Informer was and Game Informer is. Like they had little tidbits from like developers. They had little like a little art section for like fan art. They had like little segments of like the top 10 video game villains or top 10 like game levels of all time, or they had the special issues where they did like top 100 games of all time or top 20 Nintendo games of all time, or just random stuff that they did. What if if they went instead of doing Game Informer as a digital magazine, what if instead they would have done it as a show where they would have like somebody like a host like sitting at like kind of like a news desk ish type of look, and they just had like a show where they covered the topics of whatever the Game Informer issue would be covering, and just made it like a more frequent like game news, like almost like a podcast where whatever you're covering in the Game Informer they just covered in a podcast / like news format. And then they could have after everything is done from said Game Informer, they could have run like a as of, you know, today with the issue of Game Informer, here are the events and sales and stuff coming up for our GameStop stores.
Yeah. No,
like that would have been genius.
Here's the thing. Context of time, I believe it was year 2000. So the means for doing that in an online format like we do today aren't necessarily there.
Yeah.
So that makes it a lot more complicated to like bring that idea to life. I think you could, but more importantly, I think that this is all just a really big like spotlight on GameStop's seemingly never-ending ability to not understand their consumers. Because in 2000 when they bought that, the first thing that they should have done was say, okay, paper publication, cool. Let's make it a website. Because at that point, when you make it a website, you can still sell advertising. You can make money off advertising. In fact, you can sell a lot more advertising on a dynamic website than you can on a printed piece of paper. And we wouldn't even be having this conversation, because then eventually they would have phased out the paper copy many, many years ago, once the website was making money hand over fist,
Yeah.
and probably expanded into a YouTube channel where they had a news desk style reporting.
Yeah.
That
and then
was
you could
weekly.
sell sponsorships at that point. Like
It-
somebody could sponsor, the news show or whatever, and then you're making even more on top of that. Like that
Right.
would have helped GameStop in the long run, really, of just like keeping them relevant in terms of like gaming, and they would have stayed connected, because you now not only do you have like this news show, but then you have a audience that these hosts are able to engage with
Exactly.
and see what they're saying, see what they want, and then relay that to a representative of the company and be like, look, we've done this show for so long, or however long we've been doing it, and I see a lot of people really begging for retro stuff back at GameStop. Like, maybe you guys should look into that. I mean, I know that GameStops are like getting back into like retro, but I think it's too little, too late at this point.
I mean, well, GameStop in general is too little, too late at this point. Like, it's that guy that shows up with a case of beer at the party, except he gets there at 5 a.m. after everybody's already passed out.
That was the perfect analogy.
It's too true. I mean, like I said, it maybe probably is on a website. I haven't looked for a Game Informer website or anything like it.
Mm-mm.
I know IGN has a very extensive website, but I think a dedicated Game Informer website would have been good.
Or even like a Game Informer app. Like IGN has an app, but the IGN app makes me rage uncontrollably, because like the ads will just pop up when I'm scrolling, and then it loses my spot, and it's the most frustrating thing.
So that's because the app isn't truly an app. It's basically just
a
like
mobile
a frame.
version of the desktop site, or mobile version of the site. But
even if it's a downloaded site, they have to get their content from a server. And if you don't manage that well, you're basically building another web browser, except it's dedicated to your site. And then you try to, inject content where you can. So it's like, oh, look, it's Nintendo. It's just clunky. And that was the other thing I wanted to say about who do you think the top advertisers would be for Game Informer?
probably a lot of video game.
Maybe Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony. Those three companies don't have any money.
And
they don't have any money. Their advertising budget is like my daughter's allowance. Well, they do like $25 a week.
Yeah, like if you're doing like this live Game Informer show and you're talking about, upcoming games, Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, like all of these people and developers are going to be like, "Hey, we will sponsor you to talk about this more in depth, and we'll send you these press kits that you can play on air, and you can show them what the gameplay like." You wouldn't even have to have the events that they have like these massive announcements on, because that would then become what those are.
Well, yeah, I mean, like
it would just become this massive thing.
What if, let's say,
at some point,
hypothetically, all this happens the way that we're talking about. Game Informer gets, partners up with Epic Games, and they're like, oh, let's do this bit on the show and on the website where it's like Jonesy's Corner from Fortnite, where we can do like this blog. And
is that a character from Fortnite?
He's like the Hallmark guy. he's the token Fortnite guy. But it's like you can literally intertwine the games with the content at that point, in that way. And
To branch off of what you just said about like having like the Jonesy's Corner or whatever, like you could have Apex or Call of Duty, like these live service games that are like huge, like hugely popular. They could have their own little things like, oh, by the way, here's what's new in the Call of Duty game realm now. Like, we just announced that we're doing these operator skins. They come out this day, and they're going to cost this much, blah, blah, blah. Like, you could do. There's so much potential for all of that. If especially with a company as big as GameStop and how massive Game Informer was.
Well, and like with that, how perfect would that be if that was like, you know, the news desk doing an announcement or something, and then it like cut to outside the studio and Soap and McTavish were there like actors, and they storm the studio and they're like, oh wait, all right, Exfil.
Like the possibility for what they could have done there are endless, especially for like game announcements and stuff like that. Like you could have done some really awesome things there with if they would have gone that route. I mean, it's very likely that they're probably going to try and do something else. Like they're just discontinuing like the magazine portion.
You'll never
Game
see that
Informer.
again. Never see that magazine again. You might see like that name or the content.
I think if I had to guess, they might try and like have like just like a news overall thing if they continue to go into that direction, or they're just going to scrap it all together and
there
just
will be
forget
no
about
print ever again for that.
No, I don't think they would ever print anything.
I mean, they
no.
might try to go web with it now. Maybe
But
after they hear us going off about it, but
yeah, when GameStop, when you hear this, give me a call.
here's an idea.
I got some ideas.
Here's an idea. If you're going to give your money to somebody for a product, give your money to a smart person, not somebody like GameStop. Go on Amazon.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Jeff.
I mean,
That's a long way to come. Just on, you know, this online bookstore in what is 98? I'm going to start dude, HTML, it was like, I remember being 9 trying to learn HTML, and I'm like, what is this shit? At 9, and, you know, I mean, I don't know if I ever truly got it, but it was simple. Like, so to do a bookstore, that's...
I mean, from what Amazon started at to what they are now, it's just
they can literally
ridiculous.
They can literally get you something you order online same day.
Yeah. And they do like free 2-day delivery and all that. Like that's
only for Prime members.
Well, yes, but still.
Which is like when I first started Prime, I think it was $60 a year.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's like 150 now.
Yeah. Dude, every subscription service is just getting so absurdly expensive, and it's just going to keep going up. They're just going to reach, like we talked about with Joe and Figsy when we were talking about like subscription prices and like Game Pass and stuff like that. Like they're going to push that envelope until they see this massive drop and be like, okay, under that number and everybody's fine. That's our ceiling.
That's literally what everything in the world is doing right now. Have you seen
yes.
like grapes? Grapes. I paid $15 for a bag of grapes.
I still don't understand how you...
It was 5 pounds of grapes at like $3 a pound.
Well, 5 pounds of grapes?
I don't know that it was... well, I mean, I didn't have a scale. I'm in giant here. Let me validate your fucking scale here on this register.
Why are you buying that many grapes?
Dude, she just grabbed them.
That's a lot of grapes.
She grabbed them. I was like... at that point, I had had enough. Until I found out they were $15.
Well, that's like... Dude, when we were down in Ocean City a few days ago, dude, the prices to eat down there is ridiculous. We got breakfast the one morning at Bad Monkey. It was a $70 breakfast
For the two of you?
for 3.
Well, 2.5.
Yeah, that's including tip.
Yeah, that comes out. That's so $70. I assume you probably tip 10% because you're an asshole.
No, we tip. I think the bill was like $58, and then
that's a nice tip.
We gave them what, like $12?
Well, yeah,
tip?
that would be $12. So that'd be like 23%. Which I think is good if the service was good. But like $58 on the food, you know, if you figure,
Hey,
we'll cut that like 40, 40, 20. So you divide it by 5. That's 12 for the kids' meal, and then 24 for each of yours for breakfast.
Not even close. Shouldn't even be close. Because the breakfast I got, it was just a basic breakfast. It was supposed to be 2 over medium eggs. They were over hard.
That would be why it was so expensive.
So it was 2 over
It's
medium
that markup.
eggs.
Do you know the
A
price
piece of
on labor
toast.
for over medium eggs?
A piece of toast, potatoes, sausage, and 1 pancake. That was what I got, and she got an omelet. We both got coffee. She got an orange juice, and Lydia got a kid's pancake. There is no way that should be even remotely close to $58 goddamn dollars.
So let me ask you this: did you go anywhere else for breakfast while you were down there?
Yeah, we had breakfast one other place, and that was Happy Jack's.
How much did it cost there?
Like $50.
Do you know what that tells me?
That it's expensive as shit to eat in Ocean City, Maryland.
Yeah, it's a tourist location in America, and we're a bunch of capitalists.
Dude, that place is a fucking shit show.
This is my point, though. Like I said, everything is testing the waters right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like food, gas has always been like that. Gas is a Middle Eastern
It's
propagated
constantly
problem,
just
but
doing that.
well, it's not really doing that, but it's kind of doing like, oh, I'm up here, and then it's never going to come back down because they know we'll pay for it.
We don't have a choice.
Well,
unless everybody wants to start riding bikes, and we're all too fat for that.
so that's the thing. Like, do we have a choice? No. Ultimately, we're dependent on gas in the long run. Could we theoretically stage a boycott where people wouldn't buy gas for a week? I think you could make that get by. And I think if you interrupt the cash flow that bad for that period of time...
Yeah, but
they're gonna be
organizing
like,
enough
"Ooh."
people to be like, I need to stop my everyday life and stuff to not buy gas for a week. I can't do that. Do you know all the things that I have to do?
Dude, you're not going to...
I have to get little Jimmy to baseball practice.
Here, let me put it in context. When the Boston Tea Party happened, people gave a shit.
That was also a long time ago.
Right.
We're all spoiled shitless now, and we live in a world where everything's at the tip of our fingers.
Well, and like, so if Boston...
And we're spoiled with all of this stuff that we can just go do and get and buy. And
like, that only happened in Boston, and it was a big deal. If only Boston didn't buy gas for a week, that doesn't hit them hard enough.
All right, here's...
What are we doing?
We're going to do the Boston Tea Party, but instead it's going to be the Washington D.C. gas party, where everybody just brings their gas cans filled with gas and they just throw it as close as they can to some place in D.C. It's just tossing gas cans. I
mean, so I thought you were going a different direction with that, and I was about to get up and leave because I can't be affiliated with that. But
absolutely not. No.
Like, I mean, you know, the EPA probably wouldn't appreciate that, but like if somebody planned that where like it was this symbolic thing where people would like buy 5 gallons of gas and just come dump it somewhere, that if you got enough people that were like making pilgrimage to the nation's capital just to dump gas like that,
bays and the fucking the little fucking big water thing that they have there by the monument. The fuck is that? It's like the reflecting pool or something like that.
Dude, if people just started pouring gas in the reflecting pond, I think there'd be a problem. No, they should make like this special fixture that you could use, and then secretly underneath of it, it's like this 50,000 gallon tank, so that way they can just pump it out every night and resell it again. Oh, capitalism.
But anyway,
I want a tea party.
rest in peace to Game Informer. You were a key part of my childhood and teenage years of my pretty much my prime gaming years, if I had to say.
Thanks for killing it, GameStop.